Hello everyone. Today we're going to dive into a world where the noise never stops, where the digital storm rages on, and where survival means staying plugged in. Picture this. You're sitting in a dimly lit room, the glow of your screen casting shadows on the walls, the hum of notifications like a distant thunderstorm. You scroll, you swipe, you tap, each action a lifeline to the world outside. But here's the thing, you probably won't survive this. Not in the way you think. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I'm doing here. And hey, drop a comment with your location and local time. Let's see where everyone's tuning in from. Now, turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and get this evening started. You're in trouble. Not the kind where you're lost in the woods or stranded on a desert island, though honestly that might be easier. No, you're drowning in a sea of digital noise, and the worst part? You don't even realize it. Every ping, every buzz, every little red on your screen. It's like a siren call, pulling you deeper into the chaos. You scroll to avoid your mind, post to prove you exist. But what if no one sees? What if the noise stops? Could you survive the silence? Think about it. Your life is a highlight reel, curated for likes and shares. You're the star of your own show, but the audience is fickle, and the stage is always shifting. One day you're trending, the next you're yesterday's news. It's exhausting, isn't it? But you can't stop, because stopping means facing the quiet, and the quiet is where the real monsters live. The doubts, the fears, the questions you've buried under a mountain of memes and cat videos. Historians still debate whether the printing press was the greatest invention of all time or the beginning of our obsession with constant information. Before that, silence was the norm. People had time to think, to reflect, to just be. Now, silence is the enemy. We fill it with podcasts, playlists, and endless streams of content. Anything to avoid being alone with our thoughts. Here's something weird. The average person checks their phone 150 times a day. That's once every 6 minutes. It's like we're addicted to the noise, hooked on the dopamine hit of a new notification. But what are we really chasing? Connection? Validation? Or just a way to escape the silence? So here's a question for you. If the noise stopped, if your phone died, the internet crashed, and you were left with nothing but your own thoughts, could you survive? Or would the silence swallow you whole? Remember that fan you turned on for some soothing noise? Imagine if that was the only sound left. No notifications, no chatter, just the hum of the blades cutting through the air. Could you handle it? Or would you start to crack? That's the thing about the noise. It's not just a distraction. It's a shield. And without it, you're exposed, vulnerable, raw. But maybe, just maybe, that's where the real survival begins. In a way, the noise is how we survive the modern world. It's our armor against the chaos, our way of making sense of the madness. We post, we share, we comment, all in an effort to carve out a space for ourselves in the digital landscape. But it's a double-edged sword. The more we engage, the more we're defined by it. Our worth becomes tied to metrics, followers, likes, shares. It's a game we can't win, but we keep playing because the alternative is too scary. And let's not forget the fear of missing out. FOMO, they call it. It's the anxiety that somewhere, someone is having a better time, doing something more exciting, and you're missing it. So you stay plugged in, always scrolling, always checking, just in case. But here's the truth. You're not missing anything. The world keeps spinning with or without your input. And maybe, if you stepped away, you'd find something more valuable. Peace, clarity, a moment to breathe. Speaking of breathing, ever notice how we hold our breath when we're waiting for a text back? It's like our lungs are synced to our inbox. Relax, it's just a message, not a life raft. But hey, maybe that's the point. We treat these digital interactions like they're the only thing keeping us afloat. So, as we dive deeper into this storm of noise, remember this. Survival isn't about staying connected. It's about knowing when to disconnect. It's about finding the strength to face the silence, to sit with your thoughts, and to realize that you don't need the world's approval to exist. But that's easier said than done, right? After all, we're only human, and humans crave connection. The trick is finding the balance, knowing when to plug in and when to pull the plug. In the end, The noise of modern life is both a blessing and a curse. It connects us, informs us, entertains us, but it also defines us in ways we might not even realize. So, as you sit there, screen glowing, fan humming, ask yourself, are you surviving the noise, or is the noise surviving you? It's a question worth pondering, especially as we move into the next part of this journey, the silence within. So, we've established that you're drowning in the noise, scrolling, swiping, chasing that next hit of dopamine like it's the only thing keeping you afloat. But what happens when it stops? What happens when the notifications dry up, the screen goes dark, and you're left with nothing but the sound of your own breathing? That's where the real test begins. Imagine this, you're sitting in a room, no phone, no Wi-Fi, no distractions. Just you, the hum of the world outside, and the thoughts you've been running from all day. The silence isn't peaceful, it's suffocating. Your mind starts racing, digging up every worry, every doubt, every what if you've buried under layers of likes and retweets. It's like the noise was holding you together, and without it, you're falling apart. But here's the kicker. That silence is not the enemy. It's the mirror. It shows you who you are when the world isn't watching, when the algorithm isn't feeding you a script. And yeah, it's uncomfortable, maybe even terrifying, because stripped of the noise, you're forced to ask the big questions. Who am I? What do I want? What's the point of all this? No wonder you keep scrolling. It's easier than facing that. Let's throw in some history to shake things up. Back in the 17th century, Blaise Pascal, the French philosopher, dropped a bombshell. All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. He wasn't wrong. Centuries later, here we are, more connected than ever, yet more afraid of silence than ever. Pascal didn't have Instagram, but he'd still call us out for dodging the hard stuff. And now, a weird fact to chew on. Studies show the average person can only handle about 10 seconds of silence in a conversation before they start squirming. 10 seconds. That's it. We're so wired for noise that even a tiny pause feels like a void we have to fill. Next time you're with someone, try it. Count to 10 in your head and watch them fidget. It's almost funny, until you realize you're doing it too. So why does silence hit so hard? Because it's raw. It's unfiltered. There's no notification to distract you, no post to numb you. It's just you and the weight of your own existence. And let's be honest, most of us aren't ready for that. We've spent years building this digital armor, tweets, stories, memes, to shield us from the quiet. But the second it's gone, we're naked, vulnerable, and scrambling for cover. Here's a lighter take. Ever notice how you'll refresh your feed even when you know nothing's changed? It's like checking the fridge 5 minutes after you last looked, hoping something magical appeared. Spoiler, it didn't. But you keep doing it anyway because the alternative is sitting there, staring at the wall, wondering why you're like this. Now, let's stir the pot with a question. Is silence freedom, or is it a cage? Some say it's liberation, cutting the chains of constant input, letting your mind breathe. Others say it's torture, a prison where you're trapped with your worst critic, yourself. What's your take? Drop it in the comments. I'm curious. The truth is, we're not built for this much noise, but we're not built for total silence either. We're stuck in this weird in-between, craving connection but drowning in overstimulation. And until we figure out how to balance it, we're just ping-ponging between chaos and collapse. So, picture this. The fan's humming, the lights are off, and your phone's face down for once. The silence creeps in, slow and heavy, like fog rolling over a lake. You can hear your heartbeat, your breath, maybe even the faint buzz of the world outside. It's not cozy, it's eerie, but it's real. And maybe, just maybe, that's where the good stuff starts. You're not just surviving the noise anymore, you're facing the silence. And trust me, that's harder than it sounds. You've faced the noise, that relentless digital storm that defined you. You've sat with the silence, those raw, unfiltered thoughts clawing at the edges of your mind. But now the stakes are higher. The world has gone quiet. Not just your phone, not just your notifications, but everything. No voices, no footsteps, no distant hum of traffic. Just you, the rhythm of your breath, and a vast, empty expanse stretching out in every direction. This isn't about enduring a moment of quiet anymore. This is about surviving when the crowd disappears. Could you do it? Imagine this, you're standing in a forest, or maybe it's a desert, the details blurry but the feeling sharp. The air is heavy, thick with the scent of pine or scorched sand. There's no signal, no Wi-Fi, no one to text for help. The fan you turned on back in your room? A distant memory. All you've got is what's in front of you. Trees or dunes, a faint breeze, and the sound of your own heartbeat, louder than you'd like. The crowd that once validated you, distracted you, is gone. It's just you now. And the question isn't whether you can survive the elements, it's whether you can survive yourself. Let's be real, you're not Bear Grylls. You're not out here crafting a shelter from twigs and vibes. But survival isn't always about physical strength. It's about mental grit. The first day is the worst. Your mind, so used to the constant ping of notifications, starts to panic. It's like a toddler without its favorite toy, throwing a tantrum because there's nothing to grab onto. You catch yourself muttering, "Someone's got to be out there, right?" But no one answers. The silence is deafening, and for the first time, you realize how much you relied on the crowd to feel alive. Here's a historical nugget to chew on. In the 4th century, early Christian hermits called the Desert Fathers fled to the Egyptian wilderness to live in complete isolation. They weren't chasing adventure. They were chasing truth, believing solitude would strip away distractions and reveal their core. Spoiler: it wasn't all enlightenment and chill. Many went mad, haunted by their own minds. Historians still debate whether their solitude brought them closer to divinity or just drove them to the edge. What do you think? Does isolation clarify or unravel? And for a weird fact, humans can start hallucinating after just 48 hours of total isolation. Your brain, desperate for input, will conjure voices, shadows, even faces in the trees. Funny how the thing that's supposed to keep you sane can turn on you like that. Ever wonder what you'd see out there, with no one to ground you? So let's paint the picture. Day 3, maybe 4. You're hungry, tired, and your shoes are falling apart, because of course you didn't pack for the apocalypse. You find a stream, and the sound of water trickling over rocks is the closest thing to company you've got. You sit there, staring at the ripples, and something shifts. The panic starts to fade, not because you're suddenly a survival expert, but because you're too exhausted to fight it. You start to notice things, the way the light filters through the leaves, the rhythm of your own steps. It's not peace, not yet, but it's something. Here's a lighthearted jab. You're out here talking to a rock like it's your new best friend, naming it Steve because, well, why not? "Steve, you think we're gonna make it?" you ask, and Steve just sits there, being all rocky and judgmental. Gotta laugh, right? Otherwise, the loneliness might win. But loneliness is the real beast here. It's not just the absence of people. It's the absence of purpose. Back in the world, the crowd gave you context. Friends to laugh with, followers to impress, coworkers to complain about. Out here, there's no one to perform for. No one to clap. Just you breathing, existing, and wondering if that's enough. It's a gut punch, realizing how much of your identity was tied to others' approval. Strip that away, and what's left? Here's a question to rattle around in your head. If no one ever saw you again, would you still be you? Or are you only real because others say so? Drop your thoughts in the comments, unless, you're out there with Steve the Rock, in which case, tell him I said hi. The truth is, surviving isolation isn't about finding food or building a fire, though yeah, those help. It's about finding a reason to keep going when the world's applause has faded. It's about sitting with the emptiness and deciding you're worth more than the void. Maybe you start carving patterns in a stick, not because it's useful, but because it's yours. Maybe you sing off-key and ridiculous, because it fills the air. Small acts, tiny rebellions against the silence, proving you're still here. As the days blur, you start to feel it, a flicker of something new. Not strength, not yet, but resilience. You're not just surviving the isolation, you're learning to live in it. The crowd's gone, the noise is a memory, and yet, somehow you're still standing. The fan's off, the screen's dark, and the world's forgotten you. But you haven't forgotten yourself. And that, my friend, is the real test. The silence isn't screaming at you anymore. You've made it through the thick of it. Days, maybe weeks, alone with your breath and the endless loop of your own thoughts. You're still standing, or at least sitting, which is a victory in itself. The desert hasn't swallowed you, the forest hasn't claimed you, and your phone's still dead, but you're not. You've survived the isolation, the stripping away of the crowd, the noise, the chaos. But now what? Survival's one thing, living is another. Welcome to the next test, rebuilding from the silence. Picture this. The world hasn't come rushing back. There's no cavalry, no Wi-Fi signal magically blinking to life. It's still just you, but the quiet feels different now. It's not a weight pressing down. It's a blank canvas stretching out. The absence of noise isn't a void to endure anymore. It's a space to fill. But fill it with what? That's the question gnawing at you as the sun rises again, painting the horizon in colors you'd forgotten existed. You've got no one to tell you what's next, no algorithm to spoon-feed you purpose. It's on you to figure it out. At first, it's overwhelming. You're not just rebuilding a shelter or scavenging for food. Those are the easy parts. You're rebuilding you. The old you, the one who thrived on likes and deadlines and coffee runs, doesn't fit here. That version's a ghost, flickering in the corners of your mind, whispering about trending hashtags and unread emails. Out here, those things don't matter. What matters is the stick you're whittling into a spear, the rhythm of your hands working, the faint satisfaction of doing something real. It's small, but it's a start. Let's take a step back. History's full of people who've stared into the void and built something from it. Think of the pioneers who crossed oceans and plains, not just to survive, but to carve out a life. Or the artists. Van Gogh painting starry nights in his lonely madness, finding beauty where others saw nothing. They didn't wait for permission or applause. They took the silence and made it theirs. You're not so different. The tools are simpler now, a rock, a branch, your own stubborn will, but the principle's the same. Purpose isn't handed to you. It's forged. Here's the catch, though, your brain's still a mess. You'd think after all that isolation it'd settle down. But no. It's like, cool, we survived. But did you see how crooked that spear is? A toddler could have done better. Or, sure, you're alive. But what's the point if no one's around to give you a gold star? Even in the middle of nowhere, your inner critic's got a megaphone and a grudge. Funny, right? You'd think solitude would kill the perfectionism, but it's got a survival instinct of its own. So how do you shut it up? You don't. You let it ramble while you keep moving. You stack rocks into a crude wall, not because it's perfect, but because it's something. You hum a tune, off-key, who cares? Because it breaks the stillness. You plant a seed, metaphorical or real, and watch it grow. Not because it'll save the world, but because it's yours. Bit by bit, you build. Not a city, not a monument, just a life, one that doesn't need a crowd to mean something. Here's a wild thought. Maybe this is what freedom feels like. Not the loud, flashy kind with fireworks and speeches, but the quiet kind. The kind where you decide what matters, not because someone told you to, but because you chose it. Back in the old world, purpose was a checklist: job, friends, followers. Out here, it's messier, raw. It's the ache in your arms after a day's work, the flicker of pride when you light a fire from scratch. It's knowing you're enough, not because you're loud, but because you're still here. Let's toss a question into the mix. If you could rebuild your life from nothing, no expectations, no noise, what would you keep? What would you let go? Chew on that for a sec. Drop your thoughts below if you're feeling chatty. The silence isn't your enemy anymore. It's your workshop, your proving ground. You're not just surviving it, you're shaping it. The crowd's gone. The noise is a memory. And yet, here you are, carving meaning out of the quiet. The storm's past, the fan's still off, and your phone's a relic. But you're alive. And for the first time, that feels like enough.